What's going on there today, YouTube? We're going to be checking out Jeff Nippard's ultimate pull workout for muscle growth. Now, I've been recently trying to get my back into as good a shape as my chest and my traps, as well as my arms, So I've been recently trying to get that together because my back's probably the weakest part on me. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this and see if I agree with any of this and see if there's some stuff I want to take away from it and do on my own. So without further ado, let's just get right into his exercises.
The end of the video. All right, so after a quick 5-minute warm-up on the treadmill or Stairmaster and about 10 arm circles per side and 10 cable external rotations per side, we're kicking things off with 4 feeder sets on the lat pull down.
I would just get my warm-up.
Now, the idea of a feeder...
I would just get my warm-up using these exercises, see, warm up the actual muscle group. A lot of people like to use the treadmill to warm up their whole body, but I like to warm up that muscle specifically, so I'll do lower reps.
Set is something I learned from my great mentor, John Meadows. We do these a lot together when we train. It's basically a way of warming up where you'll do 4 or 5 feeder sets, gradually building up in weight until you get to one all-out set to failure. So for your first feeder set, you'll pick a light weight and do it for 10 reps. This should be very low exertion at an RPE of 4 or 5, just meant to get the blood flowing. Then you'll rest for a minute or two, increase the weight a bit, and do another 10 reps, and now you're up to an RPE of 6 or 7. So
I see he's been doing the overhand. I've been doing a little bit of underhand as well, pull downs, trying to hit them lats a little bit better. So
getting a bit harder. You'll rest for another minute or two, increase the weight again, and do another 10 reps, and now you're at an RPE of 7 or 8, so you've got 2 or 3 reps left in the tank here. Then you'll increase the weight one last time and try to get 10 reps. And this time, you're going to an RPE of 10, so all the way to failure. Now, the argument you'll hear against doing feeder sets is that they might end up fatiguing you for the main working set. So some might argue that it'd be better to do a shorter warm-up with less sets and reps so you get to the working sets faster. And this is the approach that I also take on most exercises.
I see. So this is his warm-up for the back. So he does 2 warm-ups. And that to me seems a little excessive. So, the warm-up there for the back is probably pretty good. He does use science to back this up, so I might be wrong.
Especially when I'm trying to overload with more weight. However, on a more mind-muscle connection-based exercise, like a lat pull-down, where many people do struggle finding a good mind-muscle connection with their back, I find that feeder sets can accomplish 2 things. First, they can help you get into a better groove with the movement, so that by the time you reach the failure set, your lats are engaging much better. And second, they can be helpful in finding the right weight for the failure set, because you select the weight for that set based on how hard the feeder sets felt. For example, if your third feeder set already feels pretty heavy, you won't need to add much weight for
that's all pretty good information, actually, so I really like that. I might try the feeder set then, this warm-up at lowers to try to get that real engagement there and mind muscle connection to the back. It is hard to get, so it takes quite a bit of practice, and it feels like every time I go into the gym to do back, I have to reteach myself which muscles I'm actually looking to engage. So that's actually pretty good advice, because it will tell you how hard, you can actually go by increasing incrementally. Like, all right, well, this is probably the most I'm going to get for 10 before I cannot pull it down anymore.
The failure set. On the other hand, if your third feeder set still feels pretty easy, you're strong on this day and should bump the weight up for the failure set. And then after that first failure set, I'll rest for 2 or 3 minutes and do one more set to failure. And I challenge myself to reach the same number of reps as I did on the first failure set with the same weight, but because of fatigue, that's not always possible. Oftentimes, I'll end up getting 7 or 8 reps for the second failure set. And then after that, I'll do a mini drop set by stripping the weight back by about 30% and cranking out 4 or 5 more reps.
I do that a lot as well, especially for all my other exercises. So I should probably start doing that for the back. Drop sets are really good for, you went to failure, but you don't feel like you got enough muscle stimulation. So you want to get a few more reps in for that set. Now he says he'll do 2 failure sets. I probably would go to 3. So I'm going to try this out, but I'm going to increase the failure sets.
I like doing this at the end just to make sure the back fibers are in fact reaching very high levels of activation. Because with the lat pull down in particular, you might reach technical failure, but find that your back could probably still do quite a few more reps if you just cheated a little bit.
Yep.
So rather than cheating, I compensate by doing this mini drop set to really finish things off. And I'm using a middle overhand grip with about 1 to 1.5 times shoulder width here. When doing straight
that's about
sets,
where I go.
I often use a different grip width for each set. However, because the entire point of feeder sets is to get in a good groove and establish a strength baseline, I'd rather keep my grip consistent from set to set here. And the middle grip is usually the sweet spot because if you go too wide, you'll shorten the range of motion. And if you go really close, the biceps tend to take over a bit more.
Right. If you're not wide enough, then you're like he said, you're just doing bicep pull down. So yeah, I like this a little bit outside of shoulder length. Do a little outside of that. A little V shape. It feels great. So I agree with all that.
I also recommend using straps on your failure sets. This way your grip strength won't limit the number of reps your back can do. And I also find that most people are able to feel a much stronger mind-muscle connection when they strap in. If you don't have straps, I'd recommend at least using a thumbless grip, which in my coaching experience is one of the best cues for helping people engage their back better. One last thing I've noticed from many of the IFBB pros who train.
I've never heard that, so I might try that. I don't have any straps, and my grip strength's never really been the problem. So, but I might try that. Thumb outside get the back a little bit better position. That might help out.
At my gym is that they aren't super stiff and uptight when they train. And I think this is a good thing. When I allow my body to move more naturally and be more fluid, within reason, I can feel the target muscle working so much better than if I'm very stiff and uptight. So on exercises like this, I think it's okay if you allow yourself to lean and rock a bit, as long as you're feeling the target muscle pulling and stretching under control, especially on the negative. Okay, after that, we're hitting 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps on the Omni Grip chest-supported machine row. Omni Grip just means that you're using a different grip for each set. So for set 1, we're using a wider grip. On set
Yeah, my gym's got one of these. It's like an isolateral. It's kind of bent over forward, and it's got 3 different grip styles, not 4 different. The one I used to go to had that four different grip sets. I really love that machine. It was great. So if you have a machine like this at your gym, use it, man. That's a great machine.
2, we're using a slightly closer grip, and then on set 3, we're using either a neutral or underhand grip. Now, I'm using this Panada chest-supported machine at my gym, but you can use any chest-supported machine that you feel working your back well. That can be a simple T-bar row, or if you don't have machine access, you can simply do a Helms row with dumbbells, bracing your chest against the back of an incline bench. In my opinion, every pull day should have at least 2 main types of exercises. A vertical pull, like the lat pull down we just did, and a horizontal pull, like the machine row we're doing here now. And while both exercises will hit the entire back to a substantial degree, the lat pull downs will emphasize the lats and teres muscles, while the rows will emphasize the traps and rhomboids of the mid-back, especially if we focus on actively squeezing our shoulder blades together. And like I mentioned earlier, we're using 3 different grips for each of the 3 working sets, simply because the back is so complex.
There's a lot of muscles in the back. I get shoulder pain from an old injury, so that's the real reason why I haven't done so many back exercises. But now that I've been doing rotator cuff exercises, that pain's been going away a lot, so it may have just been a weak rotator cuff. So if you got pain in your shoulder blade areas, try that out, and then you can get to your back exercises, because it's important.
And it's made up of so many different muscles that all pull on the skeleton in slightly different ways.
Yeah, so many.
Hitting those muscles from slightly different angles by varying your grip position makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Okay, after that, we're moving on to a superset of bottom half dumbbell lat pullovers and a static lat stretch for a 30-second hold. And we're doing 2 sets of each. So we'll do a set of pullovers, stretch our right lat for 30 seconds, stretch our left lat for 30 seconds, rest for 30 seconds, then do a second set of pullovers, then stretch our left lat for 30 seconds, stretch our right lat for 30 seconds, and then move on to the next exercise. So just note that we're switching.
See, I've never done this lat pullover, so maybe I'll give it a shot. I don't really like a whole lot of exercises that as soon as you get that weight above your body, there's no resistance. I really don't like exercises that don't add resistance. So even like when I'll do dumbbell curls on the incline, I like that to be inclined so that there's resistance all the way through there, and you can really feel the burn. Machines do a really good job of keeping that resistance through the whole exercise, and maybe this is good. I'll try it out, give it like 3 weeks and see if I notice any lat difference.
The order of the side we're stretching first on each of those supersets. Now, I'm calling these bottom half pullovers because we're completely cutting out the top half of the range of motion, instead just staying in the more lengthened, stretched aspect of the lift. And this is because there's virtually zero tension on the lats at the top.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure how many people in my audience are aware of this ongoing debate, but the pullover has been recently added to the chopping block of exercises for the last little while online. Yeah. Some coaches have been arguing that because the lats don't have the best leverage with the arms positioned overhead, the pullover is probably not a very good exercise choice for the lats. However, just because the lats aren't optimally leveraged with the arms overhead doesn't mean that they can't still experience stretch and tension. As long as the bulk of the muscle fibers are behind the active joint, which they are in this case, they'll still have some leverage on that joint. And I personally still like the dumbbell lat pullover as a stretch type exercise for the lats for two very simple reasons. First, I always feel a great stretch on my lats when I do them. And second, my lats are always sore for a day or two after doing them. Now,
okay, well, I'm going to give it a shot there, Jeff. So we'll see if my lats are sore for a couple of days after doing them. I can see the benefit of the stretch because it's kind of really hard to stretch the back. So if this gives it a good stretch, I can see the benefit at least with that. But like I was saying, there's no tension at the top, and it's not optimal. So I can see why a lot of people are putting it on the chopping block. But I can see the benefit from your position of stretching it, so that's pretty good.
Neither of those two things are ideal for determining exercise selection on their own, but when they line up over years of training, I think they're perfectly reasonable proxies for muscle activation. Of course, the only way to really know if the pullover is a good lat exercise would be if someone did a longitudinal hypertrophy study where they measured the lat thickness of a group doing pullovers versus the lat thickness of a group not doing pullovers across several months. But as far as I'm aware, that study doesn't exist, so until that study comes out and potentially proves me wrong, I still think lat pullovers are a solid option to include. As for the stretching, I do one lat at a time, just grabbing onto something solid and leaning my hips back until I feel a nice deep stretch all along one side of my back. Now I'll hold that stretch for 30 seconds at a 7 out of 10 intensity, so just before the feeling of pain or discomfort, and then I'll switch and do the other side. Now, I talked about the benefits of interset stretching in my last push day video, so if you didn't catch that one, I'll link it down below. Okay, after that we're doing 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps on the omnidirection face pull. Again, omnidirection just means that we're pulling from a different direction on each set. On set 1, we'll position the cable low and pull from low to high. On set 2, we'll position the cable at shoulder height and pull more or less straight across in the middle. And then on set 3, we'll position the cable high and pull down toward the eyes.
Okay, I'll add these to my repertoire as well. We'll see what this does for me. Let's give it 3 weeks as well and see if I feel any difference. If I definitely have delayed muscle onset soreness, I'll give it more of a shot. So I will give these. I've never done these. It always feels a little weird, but maybe that's just because I haven't done them. So.
And again, this just goes back to the concept of the back being a big, complex web of different muscles. And so while it is true that a vertical pull and a horizontal pull are the only two movements you really...
Yeah, he's got a great back. So, I mean, I can't argue with his results. If these are the exercises that this guy's been doing, then obviously they work. So I'm going to give them a go. Yeah.
Need to grow your back. I think that if we're trying to maximize back development, hitting things from a variety of different angles is likely more optimal. Okay, so after that, we're moving on to 3 sets of 6 to 8 reps on the easy bar bicep curl. I find a lot of people neglect lower rep bicep work and just aim for the pump and mind-muscle connection, but I think including a bit of both is important. So here we're using some decent weight and focusing on progressive overload in a low to moderate rep zone. You can treat this more like you would a bench press or a deadlift, where you should track the weights you're using over time and make sure that either the weight or the number of reps you're hitting is increasing from week to week. Obviously, it's important to keep your form consistent, but a little bit of hip drive on the positive to get the bar moving is okay, as long as you're controlling the negative on each and every rep. All right, and then to finish off the workout, we're doing 2 sets of 10 to 12 reps on the bottom half preacher curl. So here we're doing partial reps.
I guess I didn't read the full thing down here. It says back biceps, rear delts. So I do those curls there on the biceps. They really are nice. I like to both pull them normally and then also add a little extension up here. I got that little trick from Dr. Mike from Renaissance Periodization. Oh yeah, he kind of like let you know that when you pull the whole thing up, and then you get to be able to rest here, and so you're adding kind of like a mile rep deal where you get to rest just a little bit before you put it down. And then it does also on the eccentric really burn them muscles when you're lowering in a controlled motion.
And the stretched aspect of the lift only. I decided to include these based on the results of this 2021 study from Sato and colleagues, which split 32 subjects into one of three groups. One group did only the bottom half of their preacher curls, so they curled from 0 to 50 degrees of elbow flexion. Another group did only the top half of their preacher curls, so they curled from 80 to 130 degrees of elbow flexion. And then the third group was a control group. They didn't train at all. After 5 weeks, the bottom half group saw more than twice the gains in muscle thickness as the top half group, indicating that the lengthened, stretched aspect of preacher curls is the more hypertrophic part of that lift.
Yeah.
And then in the study, the authors highlighted a whole bunch of other literature pointing toward the idea that training a muscle at
I like to get full range of motion just because, your body moves in a full range of motion. So I know that there is a lot of actual, muscle growth that happens at that bottom half. But you can't tell me that you're not getting anything by doing a full range of motion exercise. If you're getting both the stretched position and the top half position, then you're not just selling yourself short. I guess if you got less time, it makes more sense. But I really like full range of motion. Your body needs a full range of motion. As you get older, you lose range of motion. So it's important to make sure that you keep your range of motion.
Longer muscle lengths is very important for muscle growth. And here I like to do one side at a time, so I'll start with my weaker arm and then match the reps with my stronger arm. This is good for preventing any little bicep asymmetries from developing, and also helps me focus on really feeling the stretch and mentally focusing all the tension to one bicep at a time. And like I said earlier, if you'd like to have the entire push-pull legs program all in one place, so you can just go to the gym and run it, you can pick up the full 12-week ultimate push-pull leg system.
So that was it for that ultimate back workout and a little bit of biceps. And I didn't really see any delt stuff there. So he says rear delts, but I guess maybe the rear delts was the pull to the face guy here. So yes, maybe that was the rear delts. So, but I liked it, and I'm going to start incorporating a little bit of this, and I'll let you guys know what the results are. I'll let you know if I feel some of that delayed muscle onset soreness from that overhead pull, and we'll get to it. Thanks for joining me today, and have yourselves a nice one.